Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the People on the Go Lunch and Learn webinar. My name is Melissa, and I'll be moderating the webinar today. Before we start, let's check and make sure that you can see the screen and hear me. If you can please use the questions panel on the right side of your screen to type a brief note indicating that you can hear me and see the screen, that would be great. Great, thank you so much, Judith. Thank you. By the way, this is the same questions panel that we'll use for questions later. If anything comes up during the presentation, I'll do my best to help out, and then we'll take Q&A at the end. And just in case you're having technical difficulty, the support number is there on the screen for you. That's 1-800-263-6317. Today's webinar is Getting Started with Office 2013 and 365, and I have with me Eve Porcello, who I'll be introducing in just a minute. A quick background about why we have these sessions, especially for those who are with us for the first time. We have these sessions because our focus at People on the Go is productivity in the workplace, and the topics that you see on the screen are the topics that we cover. We have them available in a variety of formats, including the webinar format, just like today's session. And the webinars are offered on a monthly basis, and you can check them out on our website. We also have a membership program that makes these webinars very easy to take advantage of, and you can see the options there. And we have many resources available like the blog, Facebook, LinkedIn groups, and you can also follow our founder, Pierre Kwan, on Twitter. So now without further ado, let's dive into today's topic. I'm going to introduce our speaker, Eve Porcello. Eve Porcello is a People on the Go faculty member and owner of Moon Highway, a web development company based in Tahoe City, California. She works primarily as a web project manager and has deployed interactive web projects for clients such as Microsoft, 1-800-DENTIST, and ESSP Law. In addition, Eve has implemented a variety of time and task management solutions to help client organizations track and improve productivity. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Eve, and she'll be showing us her slides and giving her presentation now.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Melissa. I was just sharing my screen. Hopefully everyone can see that okay and hear me all right.
Yes, we can.
Well, today, perfect. Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about Office 365 in 2013. These are the latest editions of the popular productivity suite, Microsoft Office. And just a brief overview on what we'll cover. We're going to be talking about the differences between Office 365 and 2013. We'll also be talking about the pricing and plans in these latest versions. Microsoft has made some pretty major changes in the software distribution model. So how the software is delivered to you is quite a bit different than it has been in the past and quite a bit different in these two versions. So we'll be taking a look at that. And then finally, we'll be looking at some of the key new features that are included in these versions. A lot of great functionality available to you in these latest versions, and we'll cover that so you can decide whether Office 365 and 2013 are right for you. So let's just get started with Office 2013 and a brief overview of what that exactly is. This is our traditional version of Office. It's very much like previous versions. You install the software on your computer. You have your versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and depending on your version, a bunch of other different software packages as well. This installation is for use on one computer. So you would need to purchase that as a download. And this is a little bit different than it has been in the past in that you'll be downloading the Office 2013 software suite onto your computer. You won't have to deal with software packages, giant boxes, instruction manuals. All those types of things have been tossed out in favor of the download. And this purchase will be a one-time purchase. You'll have perpetual use rights to this software, but you won't be getting any sort of upgrades as new features come out. So 2013 is the most recent. 2010 was the previous PC version. And we'll talk about a little bit how this works with Mac, but I should note at this moment that we don't have a newer version of the Office Suite for Mac. Currently, we're still at 2011. So just something to keep in mind. So on our next slide, we have a look at the key additions of Microsoft Office 2013. First of which is the home and student version. It's priced at $140. It includes Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote. So all of these are available to you if you choose this version. Moving on to a little more functionality, we have the Home and Business edition, which is, again, priced at $220. This includes Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Outlook. So a little bit more robust functionality here. You have your Outlook for calendaring and email, in addition to the basic features that are included in the earlier version. And then finally, we have Office Professional. So this is a little bit more expensive. $400 gets you Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and Outlook as it did in the previous version. But you also have Publisher, and you also have Access. So you'll have a little bit more control of databases. You'll be able to publish projects, a little bit more functionality for your buck when you order the professional version. So let's take a look at what Office 365 is. Office 365 is an alternative to 2013, and most recently you may have noticed, if you keep up with technology blogs or anything to that effect, Microsoft's really pushing this idea of Office 365. What it is a subscription-based service which offers access to all of the services and software built on the Office platform. What this basically means is you pay a subscription each month, and you have access to a cloud-based version of Office 365. So what this means is, when we're talking about cloud compatibility, we're talking about a service that's delivered over a network. It allows you to store your files in the cloud so you can access them from multiple devices. And it allows you to share a little bit more easily. You can share with members of your team, and it makes use of some of the great sharing capabilities that we'll look at in a little bit. So you are able to install Office 365 on numerous devices and computers. So with the basic installation, you get 5. So if you were to subscribe to Office 365, you can put it on up to 5 computers or devices, and let's actually move forward to that. So this table just basically shows you what you're getting when you get into the various versions of Office 365. The most basic is this Home and Premium. For about $10 a month, you'll have 5 different downloads of this to use on various computers. With it, you get Word, you get Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, Access, Publisher. You also get some free storage in SkyDrive, which is a cloud storing solution that you can use, and we'll be looking at that in a little bit as well. You also, since Microsoft has recently acquired Skype, you can get 60 free minutes of Skype per month. So kind of cool to be able to use that Skype calling. I know that Skype is typically free, but you can use that to call actual phone numbers, not just people who are using Skype. So that's kind of a cool way to connect as well. Moving on to a slightly more robust version of the software, we have the Microsoft Office 365 Small Business Premium. This is a little more expensive per month. It requires a yearly, I'm sorry, this does not require the annual. That's not until we get to the mid-size. But as you can see, looking over the chart, there's various levels at which you can join Office 365 depending on your software and employee needs, depending on the size of your business, depending on what you use most often. You can choose which works best for you. I should note at this point that the enterprise, education, and government licenses of Office 365, the cost varies on these, but it's intended for large organizations, and you can partner with Microsoft to deploy a Office 365 solution in your environment. So if you have any familiarity with Google Docs at all, Google Docs has given Microsoft a little bit of a challenge and a run for their money when it comes to these productivity tools. Google Docs has free versions of similar word processing and data management tools, and Office has decided to push the 365 version so that it can start to compete in that arena, allowing people to access their files on numerous devices and really from any web browser, as we'll see a little bit later as well. So let's look at some of the things that are new in these various devices, in these various implementations. Again, we talked about this a bit before, but we have our cloud compatibility. So you'll be able to access your files from a variety of devices. The latest versions of Office also include some rich media features that are new to Office. You can start to install videos, you can add images from various sources, all trying to compete with this Google Docs that will allow you to embed YouTube videos, embed images, these types of things. We also have a pretty cool feature that a lot of people are excited about, and that's the ability to, within Microsoft Word, now transform your PDF into Word docs. So if you've ever had a PDF that you need to translate into a Word doc format, maybe it's a really long document and you don't want to have to type it, Office now allows you to make those transformations really quickly, as easy as changing a Word doc into a PDF. There may be some formatting issues from time to time, but for the most part, this is a really, really great tool, saving you a lot of time and just avoiding the headache of having to type things out that you don't want to have to type out. We'll also look at the easier file sharing. So we have a lot more options in these two versions of the software. You'll be able to share your files a little bit more easily as you go along. So let's take a look at the actual software. Let me just close this and open it up. So what I'm showing you now is this is my Office 365 account. And with my Office 365 account, all I would need to do is access this from any browser. So I'll type in office.com. It'll take me to this login screen. I'll sign in. And you'll see that I did log in with a eve@moonhighway account. You aren't required to use a Hotmail account. In fact, Office and Microsoft are getting away from the use of Hotmail. So if you've ever worked with SkyDrive or any sort of file sharing with Microsoft in the past, you may have had to create a Hotmail account. Not so in our new universe. We're able to use a variety of email addresses and accounts so that we can keep our files organized in the way that we want without having to stash things all over the place. So when I log into our Office account here, I see all of my recent documents that I've created, and we see that I have the ability to start to edit and create documents right from my browser. So I'm going to click on that. And I think this is where these latest versions of Microsoft are really, really powerful. They'll allow you to, instead of having to, excuse me, let me close that. Instead of having to work on things on a certain device, you'll be able to access these from anywhere. So it's taking a moment to load up, but as soon as it does, we'll see that I have my presentation here, and I'm able to make edits right within my browser. So if I click on Edit Presentation here, I click on Edit in PowerPoint Web Apps, and it'll take a moment. I'll see a very familiar bar. This allows me to make formatting changes, add and delete slides, all the things that we're familiar with from our desktop versions of PowerPoint. But we have a little bit of a cleaner interface. We have the ability to share our files a little bit differently. I can always open this up in PowerPoint. I can open this up to my desktop application if I choose. But I don't necessarily need to. And if I'm on a tablet, if I'm on a mobile device and I'm trying to prepare my presentation before I have to give that at a later time, I have the flexibility to be able to make those edits whenever I'd like. So let me show you a few other features that we can find here in our browser version of Microsoft Office. So first of all, whenever I click on File, and this is consistent through any version of Microsoft Office, I'll be taken to this Backstage view. And one of the really cool features with this Backstage view, under our Info tab, is this button called Previous Version. So if I click on Previous Version, it'll take a moment, but I'll see these older versions of this file that I have in my drive. And what's nice about this is, especially if you're working in a team environment of some sort, you can roll back to previous versions of your document. You can restore it. You can download it from here. So you have a little bit more comfort when you're working with files to say, I can edit this, people from my team can edit this, but maybe I want to roll back to a previous version. I'm not really comfortable with those changes I made. I lost something. I didn't save something. You don't have to fear in the way that you used to with Microsoft Office. All of these are available to you, and you can roll back to previous versions simply by clicking Restore. So when I do that, it'll take me back to that version. If I ever make a mistake and I want to move back to the one I initially started with today, I can always do that. I would just click on this version. I'd click Restore. And then that file would be available to me. So that's a really key feature that is included in this version. I also mentioned earlier, and again, to get to here, all I would do is click File, which is that orange tab here. In different types of documents, let's say I'm choosing a Excel spreadsheet, it would be green. So within our Office suite, we have different colors for different types of documents. For just a traditional document, we have our blue tab. But the consistent thing here is that when we click on this file, we click Save As, I click share rather. I have the ability to share in a little bit of a different way here. So the first option under share is share with people. So when I click on share with people, I can share this file via email. All I need to do is type the recipient's email address into this box. I can include a personal message. So this is the proposal I was talking about. Let me know if you have feedback. And then you see here the option to have recipients edit, to have recipients sign in. So I can say, hey, I want Alex to be able to edit this, or I can uncheck this to say that I don't want him to be able to. I can also require everyone who accesses this to sign in. So let's say I'm working with a team. I want to make sure that only people on my team have access to this. So not just people who have access to the email. I can require that people sign in to be able to access. All I would do is click share, and this would send an email right away. I also have the ability to post with Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So if there's documents that I'm creating, maybe some sort of a white paper or a case study, I want to just immediately post it to my social network. I can connect my Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and as you see, I haven't done that yet, but I would be able to add these services. We have various other ones. Weibo, the Chinese version of Twitter we can find more services to share, a lot of flexibility with where we share these items. We also can get a link to this document and share it with anyone over the internet. So this is similar if you have worked with Google Docs and Drive in the past. You would be able to get a link to this document so that anyone could just paste it in their browser address bar and would be able to pull up this document. So the first option here is view only. So anyone with this link can see the files that you share. If I choose to create this link, it generates that for me here. And this means that anyone with the link can see the file, sort of like an unlisted phone number. They would be able to click on this link. Of course, they wouldn't be able to search for this. They wouldn't be able to find it in any search engine. This would be just a unique link to our document here. Anyone would be able to view it. So I'm going to remove these permissions, go back here to get a link. And we also have the ability to create a link so that people with a link can edit this. So if you want to share something but you feel comfortable with giving people editing permission, you can always share this link. And again, since we have the ability to roll back to previous versions and restore those previous versions, we can have a little bit more comfort doing this as well. Going to go back to the link. We also can make this public. So I've seen this used a lot of times when posting a job description or posting information that you don't mind that everyone sees. I can select make public, and anyone would be able to view and search for my file even if I don't share the link. Having said that, you can share the link to a public file, and you just do this from this screen. So there's a lot of new flexibility with the ability to share these various documents. We can edit them right from our web browser, which is a huge change from previous implementations of the software. We also can roll back to previous versions. We can restore this information. We can download these previous versions, all of which will make it a lot easier to manage our content and share it and collaborate with others. All right, So we spoke briefly about SkyDrive, but I want to just get back into that a little bit more. So just a note about SkyDrive. This is our location for storing all of our files that we create with Office. So we can store our files in SkyDrive whether or not we have 2013 or 365. If you find that you are storing a lot of files in this location, additional storage can always be purchased from Microsoft. So don't feel like you have any sort of limitation there. SkyDrive is a good replacement for an internal network. You can share documents around to your team, and I hope those links showed you some different ways of doing that and making that a little bit easier. So at this point, I want to discuss just briefly a few of the new features that are in all of these different software items. Unfortunately, in a brief time, we don't have time to go over all of these, but I want to make sure that we're aware of some of these key new features. So the first of which is add online video. Again, we talked about this a little bit, but we are able to add online video to our Word documents. We can also create headers in our documents, and we can expand and collapse part of them with Word. So this is useful when we're creating any sort of table of contents. We can expand and collapse these items within our document. In addition to that, we are able to reply to comments in our track changes. So if you've used track changes as a feature in Word or PowerPoint or Excel in the past, you're able to reply to comments, and that makes it a lot easier, a lot more collaborative to work together in the document and understand where others who are working on your document are coming from and what their thoughts are on that change that you've made or where you want the direction to go. I'm also including these new features, just a little overview of what's new in Excel. We have some new Excel functions. So these Excel functions are available in a variety of categories, but you're able to, and I can show you that right here. Sorry, just a second. It looks like it's not going to let me show you, but we have a bunch of new Excel functions available to us in a variety of categories. We also have new templates in Excel, making it easier to start from a place where you can get a little bit more work done faster. We have faster data processing with a new trick called quick analysis. So this helps us to understand our data a little bit better. It makes suggestions for charts with chart recommendations. So a lot of new features of Excel to make processing your data a lot faster. We also have a new flash fill category. So if you're working with big data sets, it's easier to fill out other categories that you don't want to fill in by hand. And we also can save files to the cloud once again. In PowerPoint, we also have our presenter view. So we can present on one monitor. You can have your notes available to you. We have widescreen compatibility with PowerPoint now. If you've ever presented in a widescreen format and your PowerPoint looks small and square in a widescreen format, PowerPoint is now allowing you to maximize your screen size and fill that entire screen. In PowerPoint as well, we have our, again, nicer template options and theme variations. And possibly most importantly with PowerPoint, if you have a touch-enabled device, such as a Surface or a Windows 8 touch screen, PowerPoint is working really nicely with our touch gestures on touch-enabled devices. So if you want to move things around, slide things around, edit your documents in that way, you have a lot more flexibility to do so in PowerPoint. And again, at the bottom, it's very important to note we can always be saving our files to the cloud. We talked about our Macs very briefly, but again, if you have any questions about that, hopefully we'll be getting a newer version of Microsoft Office in the future. But in the meantime, we're going to have to still use our Mac compatible 2011 and wait for a newer version. Having said that though, in our browser, so in our web app versions of our documents, our Office 365, as you can see on the screen now, you still have the ability to edit these documents. Say you're using a Mac, you would be using the Microsoft 2013 version, which we see here. So you'll have that nice new interface, you'll have some of those features, but when you're working on something on your desktop with your downloads, you won't be able to use a 2013 version. So stay tuned for more information about that. Whenever they released a 2010 version of Microsoft Office for the PC and then a 2011 version for the Mac. So hopefully at least within the year we'll have something for Mac users that's a little bit more compatible. I also wanted to just briefly go over the interface of SkyDrive. So with our Office 365 and 2013 versions, again, editing within the browser is one of these key features that makes it really useful. And so when you're working with this for the first time, you can create your new document simply from this Create folder. And this nice ribbon design makes it really easy to get down to business and not have to be confused on where to start. We also can upload documents from our desktop, from our file storage system internally on our computer. So all we need to do is click Upload to access that. We can open anything. So if we select this, we can open within our web application. And moving back to SkyDrive, we can also download, we can share, as we covered earlier. And one of these new features that we have is the ability to embed. So if we're working with a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation or a document, we can select Embed, and we can generate some HTML code to be able to embed this file. So pretty cool way of adding our documents to web pages really easily. It generates the code, we cut and paste that into our web page, and we can share our presentations, our documents, our Excel spreadsheets in that space as well. So as you can see, there are a whole host of new features available to you in these two versions of Microsoft Office. I want to point you in the direction to get some more information. We have these links listed on our resources page. You can head to the Microsoft Office website. They do have free trials for 2013 and 365. 365, since it's a subscription-based service, is free for the first month, so that's pretty cool as well. I also have a link to some Office templates. So these templates are a good starting place, and you can peruse those and see what's new and what is useful to your particular task. And then we also have our Office Touch Guide. So this gives information about the touch-enabled devices, how to use Microsoft Office with these touch-enabled devices, making it easier to edit and access content on whatever type of device that you're on. So again, a lot of functionality. I'm going to hand it back off to Melissa at this point, and I hope that that's a good crash course, but I hope that's useful in making a decision about Office and which implementation is right for you.
Thank you so much, Eve. We're going to switch it back over to me, as Eve said, and have some final slides, and then we'll get right into the Q&A. We have quite a few questions that came up during the presentation. Let's see. Thanks again so much, Eve. Here is Eve's contact information if you'd like to get in touch with her, and if you have any additional questions. We're going to try to get to all the ones that you asked today. But if anything additional comes up, that's her info, and you can contact her. You'll also be receiving a recording of the slides as well for you to review. Just a few reminders before I take questions. For those who joined us later in the session, please feel free to visit our blog and join our Facebook and LinkedIn groups. And you can also follow our founder, Pierre Kawand, on Twitter. We have some specials and announcements today. We're currently hosting a leadership survey, and you can see the link on the bottom of the screen there at SurveyMonkey. I'm actually going to send that link to you now in the chat section. And there's some really great prizes. As you can see, we're giving away over $1,500 worth of prizes, free membership for a year, a complimentary seat in an upcoming leadership program, books, a Kindle, Fire tablet, and you can see all those items there. It takes just about 10 minutes to fill out the survey, so it's pretty quick and definitely worth it. And we're going to announce the winners about mid this month. So you'll be alerted of that. We have another special relating to today's topic. This is Eve's upcoming webinar in the same topic that we covered today. And that's coming up in May, and that'll be 90 minutes, so a lot more time and a lot more in-depth on this subject. And you can access that at the special link on the bottom there. And so now let's dive into the Q&A. I had quite a few questions that came up, so I'm going to get to those first. Eve, this first one is regarding the installation of Office 2013. Can you install it just right over 2010, or do you have to uninstall previous versions first?
You can install it right over that. So thankfully they work pretty well together, and you can install it right away, and it'll take the place of the older version.
Okay, great. And kind of a similar question regarding compatibility. Does the compatibility of 2013 go all the way back to 2003 with those files? Is it pretty compatible?
Yes, it's pretty compatible. It's actually the DocX and the XLSX format. So these are familiar to us from 2007 and 2010. But those are pretty compatible for the most part with the doc version, which is from 2003. But you can save it as that doc file. So if you know that you're working with people who can't access a docx format file for any reason, you can save it back to that previous version.
Okay, great. Do you happen to know if there's any upgrade discounts if you have a previous version, if you have 2010?
It depends on the how many licenses you're buying, pretty much. So right. If you are buying for a business, a larger enterprise, they are willing to work with you on making that upgrade. For personal use, I'm not aware of any discounts. I know that you can get a free trial, so you can start your first month free. But as far as discounts for personal, home and small business type use, you would have to pay full price on that, unfortunately.
Right. Regarding 365 and the cloud servers, do you know if you've been unable to access them at any point? Does that happen quite often? Can you speak a little bit to how they're backed up and some of the security about that? Because I could see maybe some people getting concerned about that. I know that cloud is really the wave of the present and the future, but I think some people are still really hesitant to use that and to trust their precious files and information into something nebulous.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, with any sort of cloud compatibility, there is some panic associated with it. I
Right.
will say that Microsoft does a really great job of protecting those files. You can set up some pretty continue to change your password, password protect your laptop. So if you're downloading multiple versions of 365 on various devices, you can protect those files in that way. But as far as the downtime, I have noticed a bit when I'm accessing files through SkyDrive. We encountered that during the presentation service
Mm-hmm.
unavailable, which is never a good screen to see.
Right.
But once I reload that in the browser, it always comes back up. I'm in fact doing it right now. It's just sort of a little quirk with the browser. Sometimes you may need to reload those, but
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that these files are no less secure than email or anything like that. But if you do have organizational sometimes organizations don't want any file storage in the cloud for certain types of financial documents, but
Mm-hmm.
you need to defer to your policies based on that. But you always have the backup to just install the traditional Office 2013 version. All those files would be saved on your computer, and some of that discomfort about cloud storage would be avoided. So.
Right. If you're working on a document in the cloud and it cuts out, does it save it pretty instantaneously?
It does, which is great. So we've all worked with Microsoft in the past, probably. Maybe we've lost a document because we forgot to click save. Since we're working with this cloud-based system, it's pushing updates to the servers all the time and is recording these different versions. So you can save it manually, but you don't necessarily have to. So that is a nice feature to have available.
Do you know anything about the backup of the cloud? Do you know how backed up are they? Are there several are they in several locations? Do you know how that works exactly?
I know that it's all on shared hosting. So
Mm-hmm.
you're saving, when you implement 365, you're saving on Microsoft servers. And they do guarantee a certain uptime. I'm not sure what that is. I feel like it's 99% uptime, something like that. And they do back up all of your files. I could get more information to an individual on that. I'd have to check what the latest is on this most recent version. But I do know they do backups. If I could do a little bit more research and get back to that individual if that's helpful at all.
Okay, that'd be great. That's great.
Yeah.
A lot of other questions here. When using Office 365 on a Mac, can you edit on the computer using Office 2011?
Yes, you can.
That is a yes.
So that's really nice. Both are compatible. You may not have all of the features that are available in 2013 as far as some of the formulas, that sort of thing, but the versions are compatible, so your formatting will be consistent.
Okay, great. Let me get to some of the other questions here. Let's see. I'd like to know more about SharePoint 365 and a development set up on cloud with SharePoint 2013. Can you please guide me on where I can find details? We actually have some SharePoint webinars through People-OnTheGo, but I don't have confirmation if we're working in 365 just yet. Do you know about that, Eve, by chance?
Well, I'm not sure about the People-OnTheGo courses for that, but I do know that when you install various versions of 365 for business, you do have access to a cloud-based SharePoint 2013. And if you go to that office.com link that I shared on the resources screen, they have more information about that there. You're able to sort of manage your business accounts, so you can set up your SharePoint as an organizer, you can set permissions, manage files, all that kind of thing, all based through 365, which is pretty nice because you don't have to buy SharePoint as a separate tool. You can just have a more upgraded version of the 365. So.
Okay, great. Well, we've run over time just a little bit. There were a lot of questions. Why don't we finish up on this last one? And again, everyone, if you have additional questions, feel free to contact myself or Eve. We're more than happy to answer them. And again, you will be receiving a recording of the webinar and the slides as well. This last question is: are there browser preferences, to run the app?
They do ask you to have the most recent versions of browsers, but it's very compatible with Internet Explorer, since those are all Microsoft tools. It works in Chrome, it works in Safari, it works in Firefox. So they've done a great job of making it pretty compatible throughout. And if for some reason you do have an old browser that you're using, it'll ask you to upgrade and make that process pretty easy. But it's pretty compatible across the board.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Eve, for answering all those questions. Everyone, when you exit the webinar today, we ask that this feedback form will pop up, and we would really appreciate it if you would give us your feedback. It's very helpful to us in creating these webinars. Again, Eve, thank you so very much for your presentation. It was really great. And I hope that everyone, you'll join us at the next Lunch and Learn on the first Thursday of every month. And I'm going to sign off now. And thanks again, and have a great day.